Tonight, quite obviously, seen by the White House, is a pretty big opportunity for President Biden to connect with voters ahead of a very likely rematch with former President Trump. I mean, that's where it's going. We all know that. White House Communications Director Ben LaBolt joins us now from the White House. Ben, you were quoted earlier this week saying the State of the Union address is simply not absorbed nationally the way it used to be. It's not one of these mega media events in which the country collectively takes it all in. What do you mean by that, and how do you try to either take advantage of or adapt to that underlying media consumption reality?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Major. Well, that's something we think about every day, is how to reach the average American across the country that's focused on other things and may not be focused on political news. They're going about their daily lives. And so we do expect the president will see the largest television audience that he'll see all year tonight and have a chance to lay out his agenda and vision for a second term. But at the same time, he's going to take his message on the road in the days ahead. He's going to go to Philadelphia on Friday. He's going to go to Atlanta this weekend. He'll head to 3 more states next week to make sure that he's having this discussion directly with the American people. We've also, in addition to sitting down with anchors and reporters across the building, booking guests on shows, we've had digital influencers that have huge reach, millions of people on digital that reach a younger audience here at the White House. So we're hoping to reach Americans through all sorts of platforms this evening.
And Ben, it's Caitlin. What is unique about this week is that we are just on the heels of Super Tuesday. As we mentioned at the top, this is seen as kind of the kickoff to the campaign. Can we expect the president to mention his likely expected rival, Donald Trump, in this speech tonight? Will we hear him mention him by name?
Well, there's a few key components to the speech. I can give you the top lines of those themes and how the president is thinking about it. The first is defending our democracy at this critical moment, coming on the heels of January 6th, where we saw insurrectionists try to overtake the Capitol and overturn the election results. The president's going to call on the American people to defend democracy. Secondly, he's going to stand up for rights and freedoms and individual liberties that have been under assault since President Trump appointed Supreme Court justices that overturned Dobbs, and you've seen a whole host of implications: choice under assault, IVF, contraception under assault. As a result of that, he's going to talk about continuing our progress on the economy. 15 million jobs have been created under this president, more than any other in history. Inflation's down by 2/3. Wages are rising. So he wants to continue that progress. He will lay that out in contrast to the former president, in contrast to the agenda of MAGA Republicans, which involves more tax breaks for billionaires and corporations that didn't benefit the middle class, and includes undermining the results of a free and fair election and overturning Roe versus Wade. And so that contrast, I think, will be very clear tonight.
Ben, I've talked to several people attached to the campaign who say one of the rejoinders that the campaign will have is get the job done or finish the job. But you know as well as I do, and polls are not fixed things, but right now they say that the president's underwater in terms of approval on economy and immigration. And if you tell the American public, frustrated on those 2 issues, you're going to finish the job, well, they may be telling you they're not satisfied with the job done so far. So how does telling them finishing that job they're not pleased with is going to work?
Well, you know, Major, I think we've been through a pandemic, and we now have the strongest economy in the world. We've been through a supply chain crisis that impacted inflation globally. We were at 9% a year and a half ago. We're at 3% today. And what you look, if you dig into the numbers, consumer confidence is rising. You've seen it increase by 25% over the past couple of months. That's the largest rise in 30 years. And so there's an opportunity for the president to make his case to the American people. He's going to propose new things tonight to lower costs for the average American. Insulin's now capped as a result of this president, $35 for seniors, prescription drug costs at $2,000 for seniors. He wants to extend that to all Americans if he has the chance to serve again. He's also going to talk about new sectors that he's going to go after. So providing mortgage relief, for example, $5,000 a year to first-time home buyers. He's got a specific set of policy proposals here to lower costs. And what are Republicans offering? Nothing but more tax cuts for corporations and billionaires on the backs of the middle class.
And Ben, just in the few seconds we have left, how much pressure is on the president to on the performance element of this speech?
Well, look, I think, those of us who follow the news closely, we see the president give compelling speeches multiple times a week, take tough questions from reporters multiple times a week. But the average American, they're taking their kids to school, they're going to work. They usually don't sit around for an hour-long speech, but many more will tonight. And so just seeing the president, hearing his vision, hearing everything we've accomplished together as a country over the past 3 years, rebuilding the economy after a very tough time, that's an opportunity for the president to make his case. And so he has that same vigorous performance every day here at the White House and out on the road. But as we talked about at the top, it's just harder to reach people. Tonight, he certainly will reach people with that message across the country.
All right, Ben LaBolt, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.